Welcome back, everybody. My next guest is a CBS legend who has been covering politics for 60 years and has interviewed every president since Richard Nixon. Please welcome Bob Schieffer. All right, 46 years at CBS News, 14 election cycles. You're the man to ask this question. People say that this is the craziest presidency we've ever had, but you've actually got some perspective on this. Does it seem like the craziest, most bizarre presidential, certainly news cycles than you've ever seen?
It's different.
How different?
I can't ever recall a presidency quite like this one.
Well, you have a new book, Finding the Truth in Today's Deluge of News. It's called Overload. Okay, in what way do you think are we overloaded?
Well, Stephen, we're in the midst of this communication revolution that has totally changed our culture, I think in as profound a way as the invention of the printing press changed the culture of that day. And nothing has been more affected by all of this than our politics and the way we get our news. We've lost 126 newspapers over the last 12 years. One reporter in 5 now lives in either Washington, New York, or Los Angeles. There are people out in the middle of the country. It's not about biased news. It's about they're not getting any news. Their newspaper has gone away. You know, they're getting most of their news now on Facebook, which is a wonderful thing. It's a good way to keep up with your neighbors. But, you know, the things that pop up on Facebook have not gone through the same vetting process that you get when you listen to mainstream media or some of the more reliable news sources. Well, there's some good sources out there, but there's also some really bad ones.
Well, the president would say things like Facebook, or certainly something like Twitter, is an opportunity to go around the news filter, to go around the East Coast elites like you, who are letting the audience know what they should or should not know, or what is or isn't true about a story. What would be your response to saying that just a free flow of information is better than the vetting system that you're talking about?
Well, if you don't care what's true and what's false, that would be a good way to go about it. But, you know, we kind of check things out, Stephen. I mean, we don't print them and we don't broadcast them unless we've determined that it's true. And traditionally, that was the role of the news media. Look, we don't want a country where the only source of news is the government. That's a totalitarian society.
Well, you've seen...
And our job is to give citizens another carefully collected, accurate set of facts that they can compare to the government's version of events. Then they decide what to do about it. That's our job. That's what the founders meant for us to do. And that's what we're going to do.
Well, the president calls many things fake news. Anything that he doesn't agree with, he calls fake news. And he's called CBS News fake news. You started at CBS in 1969. How did you become a member of the CBS News team?
You're not going to believe this.
Because it's fake news.
And this is not fake news. I'll tell you what happened. I had, I was a newspaper reporter back in Texas, and anyway, I got a job in Washington, working for a news company there, and we came to Washington, and I'd been there about 3 weeks, and I went home and told my wife, I said, you know, this is not nearly as good a job as I had back in Texas. I think we ought to go back. And she said, have you noticed that I'm pregnant? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, could we at least wait until the baby comes? She had moved us up. I'd left her to take care of all of that stuff. So anyway, while I'm waiting for the baby to come, I went over to CBS Washington Bureau one day. I'd always wanted to work at CBS. I'd never been able to get even an appointment there. So I didn't even ask for an appointment. I just went over there. There was no security in those days. I went up to the second floor and I said, the first person I saw, I'm Bob Schieffer. I've come to see Mr. Small. And the woman, he was the bureau chief, she said, oh, yes, Bob, come right in. I mean, it's true. I was ushered into the bureau chief's office and subsequently was hired. It turned out I had walked in on someone else's appointment.
It's true. Someone named Bob?
Yeah.
Hold on, wait.
And I'll tell you who it was. It was Bob Hager, who had a long career at NBC News. And some years after that, I called him and I said, I want to ask you something. Did you have an appointment with Bill Small back in 1969? And he said, you know, yeah, that's when it was. But he said, you know, nothing ever came of it. And NBC offered me a job, so I went to work there. So we both
worked out for everybody.
Worked out good for everybody.
Bob, thanks so much for being here. His book, Overload, Finding the Truth in Today's Deluge of News, is available now. Bob Schieffer, everybody. We'll be right back. Stick around.